welcome to the Deal Final Corner. So this is your weekly property talk show brought to you by Property Filter, hosted by myself, Guillaume Black, your favorite Frenchman. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Property Filter. As you know, it's the UK's highest rated platform to find deals. And we are on a mission to empower our property investor and deal sourcer members to find another 1,000 deals this year, thanks to the Property Filter blueprint. So the purpose of your Deal Final Corner, as you know, is to give you the best and more of the available resources by inviting expert guests who will share with you the latest and most current strategies, tactics, and secrets about what actually works right now in terms of finding, making deals, and the reality of systemizing and running a high-performance business in property. So it really is my pleasure to introduce to you today to my good friends Dominic Beecheno on today's Deal Final Corner. So Dominic is the head coach and mentor at both Property Strategy Limited with Jackie Tomes, as well as the Property Investor Network. So this is PIN with Simon Zucchi, and is managing and training over 25 other coaches. He's got a very unique view about mindset and his alternative way of approaching property investing with mindset first is what many people describe and have described as what has been the most impactful part of their investment career. He specializes in mindset and behavioral change and is qualified in multiple personal profile analysis tools such as DISC, Harrison assessments, wealth dynamics, motivational maps, growth mapping, and I'm sure I must have forgot some, Dominic, because you've got lots of tools in your toolbox, I know. So Dom's got over 10,000 hours of experience coaching property investors and non-stop learning and implementing. So he's a wealth of information, and he will help you transform your success in property. And today, because you guys have no problem finding deals with Property Filter, I've asked Dominic to prepare something very special and really specifically about the mindset of raising finance. So what you can expect from today's episode. So Dominic will talk us through why knowing what to do and doing it is not enough. Then we'll take us through how you can master your self-talk to raise your game and the results, with less efforts. Thirdly, we'll talk to us about how you can learn to change your perception, the perception you have of yourself, raise your self-awareness to create lasting success and happiness. So in property and in, wider. And then finally, Dom will show you how you can copy and instill the habits of the people who are living the dream or in the place you want to be. And then we'll have time for some exclusive Q&A, and we can pick Dom's brain. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing more about Dom's presentation today. So please give a massive Property Filter virtual welcome to Mr. Dominic Beecheno.
Hey. Thank you very much indeed.
I wish we were in person sometimes, I like the warmth of the room, so.
Absolutely. It's nice to it's definitely nice to have a warm applause when you join, but I will imagine it all of the applause. What I would say, guys, is feel free to have the chat box open, because I might ask questions and it's great to be able to hear your thoughts and replies in there. So open the chat box. And yeah, as Guillaume said, this is about mindset of success in property, but of course, property is a vehicle for life. So it's everything here that you're going to learn is going to be useful for applying to your life as well as property. But in particular, I'm going to focus on that mindset of raising finance, because you guys hopefully are finding deals with Property Filter. It's such an amazing tool. And often the next step, or even the step before, is actually we need money to do so. So for a lot of people that I speak to, raising finance is a big one. So that's why I thought I'd focus on that a bit more today. Now, before we start, I'd love for you to just use your imagination for a moment. And imagine that you spend £1,000 to hear this talk. Now, the reason why I'd like you to do that is because if you have invested money in yourself, it becomes a necessity to extract as much value as you can from what I'm about to say, and that you did not just extract the value, but you also apply it to your life. You see, if you do nothing different after this talk, then it's just been a nice talk. But actually, to make the change in your life, you have to apply it. So please pretend you've spent money on it. You're going to focus on it. You're going to commit to your own personal success. And as Warren Buffett said, the best investment is yourself, because ultimately, if you had, you were homeless on the street, the only thing you would really have is the self-talk that's going on in your mind. And if you've learned the right stuff and you've got the right information in there, then you'll be resourceful and you'll find ways to succeed. Also, by investing in yourself, you're telling yourself consciously and subconsciously that you're worthy, that you're worth investing in, because you know that you're going to make a return on that investment. So always remember that you are worthy, that you're worth investing in, and it's good to think that way. And the last thing I'd like you to do also, put away your phones, don't look at WhatsApp or Facebook or try and work at the same time as this, because then you're trying to multitask and your brain just won't take in as much. Whereas if you focus on this conversation and think about the stuff that you're learning, then you're gonna be training your brain to focus. You see, in today's society, we're so distracted by so many things, you know, WhatsApp and all the notifications that are coming up on your computer and phone the whole time. And actually, you're training yourself to be distracted. But one of the number one skills of high achievers is that ability to focus. So please, for all of those reasons, put everything aside and just focus on what we're saying. And I'm sure you'll find some really good nuggets that will really, if you put it into your life, you'll transform it. Okay, so plan for the session. We always need to have organization in our mind in order to understand things properly. So the plan for the session is just a short intro about me, although Guillaume's done a pretty good job already. So I'll skim over that. Clarity on what mindset is, because it's a word that gets used a lot, but actually what is it? Why knowing what to do and doing it is not enough. It's got to be more than that. And we're going to talk about that. Changing your identity to succeed, and also the real reason why you might be struggling to raise finance. And at the end, we've got some time for Q&A. So feel free to, if you've got questions, pop them in the chat or save them for later, whichever you prefer. I don't mind. Okay, so very briefly about me, you've already heard from Guillaume, but for those of you who joined a little bit later, my passion ultimately, as well as having all these roles that I play with PIN and property strategy, is that I'm passionate about helping other people succeed. That's why I wake up every day and I'm excited, is because I love to learn about and help other people become the best version of them. That's my driving force, and that's why I'm here today. I'm not being paid. It's just a passion to help others to be here, to succeed and be the best version of themselves. Because when everyone else is doing better and being better and succeeding in life, then it helps others around them. Okay, it's not a win-lose situation, it's a win-win situation. When you're winning, other people are winning too. When you're creating and providing amazing homes for people, those people have got somewhere lovely to live. So that's a win-win situation. That's why I love helping others succeed. So firstly, mindset, what is it? Well, it's a noun, and it's the established set of attitudes that we hold about ourselves, which really determines our success. So mindset, and you might want to write some of these notes down. Mindset is basically the psychology. It's what's going on in your mind and in your body, which impact what you think, how you think, why you think, and even when you think. It's all about the thinking. We know that mindset is all of that. So don't worry about it being any one thing. It's everything. When you're consciously awake, it's mindset. And one of the best ways to understand and overcome an obstacle that we might have in life is that we need to understand where it came from, where it originated, and how it works. And so we're going to be talking about the brain a little bit today and how it works, because you've got this little bit in your brain called the amygdala, which is the fear center. It's kind of part of the reptilian brain that we all still possess. And that's the bit that kind of holds us back and stops us from doing all the things that we want to achieve. So we're going to be talking about the brain. It's like in therapy, they often talk about going back to where a problem originated, because once you've got that understanding of where it originated, that's when you can suddenly let it go and do something about it. That's why all therapy often goes back to the original place of where it starts. Now, you may have heard in the news that we're in recession at the moment. It's only maybe a small one, a short one, but the point is, officially, the UK is in recession. Now, for some people, that's awful. And for some people, I'm guessing more like you guys, you see there's an opportunity in the recession, because here's the first takeaway. Whenever there is a problem or a difficulty, there is also an opportunity. One doesn't exist without the other. And basically, it's your perception of the problem that one makes it a problem or creates it into an opportunity. So that's a really important takeaway from this first bit. Any difficulty that you have is also an opportunity. In fact, you can turn it into an opportunity and see what is the gift in this. And it's your perception of how you see it that dictates that. So that's kind of takeaway number one. I put this quote in here. I love quotes. Sam Walton, who's the founder and CEO of Walmart, which is the biggest shopping retail company in the world. And back in the 1990s, he was asked what he thought about the recession. And he said, I thought about it, and then he decided not to take part. And I just love that, because it's like, yeah, don't worry about the recession. It's like, just don't take part in it. It's other people's beliefs. It's all their thoughts, right, about the recession that make it really bad. Or in our case, a real opportunity to get better value property that we can then turn into great rentals for our tenants. Imagine for a moment, a car. A car is a vehicle that gets you through life, or rather, sorry, it gets you from A to B. Your body, very similarly, is also a vehicle that gets you through life until you die. Now, different, but also similar, your brain is an organ in your body which is there to make sense of the world, to create understanding. And as Guillaume was saying, he was an engineer. If you program your mind in the right way, you will get the right results. You'll get different results to the ones that you might be getting now. So understanding how the brain works and programming it is a bit like a computer. In fact, it's very much like a computer. Put the right software in, the right hardware in as well, that's upgraded maybe through exercise and other things. It will get you better results. It'll work faster. It'll give you better outputs. So think of the brain in that way, and you'll start to realize that how much what you put in really has a big impact. And one of the first things to let go of or not do is stop listening to the news. Stop reading the news. Stop watching the news. Because the news, 9 out of 10 stories, are actually negative. They are designed to appeal to that amygdala, that part of the brain that is fearful, because that's the bit that you pay attention to. You see, the news always has an agenda, and that's to get your attention. They want your attention. So understand that putting negative information into your mind is actually programming you like you would be programming a computer. So that's sort of takeaway number 2. Stop listening to the news. And for that matter, any other negative sources of information, any other disempowering sources of information, or people or places. We all got people that we know, maybe some sort of not so good friends, maybe even family members, and they kind of project their fears onto you. It's like, oh no, you shouldn't get below market value properties. That's not fair on the person who's selling. You shouldn't invest in property. It's really risky. I know people who've lost loads of money. And if you're put around and you put yourself around people like that, you're going to be absorbing and sort of taking on that information, and that was going to trigger the fear part of your brain, and it's going to hold you back and stop you from doing stuff. So please, as takeaway number 2 or 3, I'm getting lost now already, please become very conscious of the information that you allow into your mind, and be very deliberate about only putting in the best information, surrounding yourself with the right people, and really being careful about, all the information that you allow in. Your perception of danger is the stuff that gets our attention, that amygdala, and whether it's conscious or not. And that's why we have to become more conscious. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. But ultimately, it leads to fear. And fear is like an umbrella term that is used for things like grief and resentment and fear of missing out and fear of not being liked. All of that is fear. And we're going to talk about fear and how fear holds you back from all the stuff that you could potentially achieve with the help of Property Filter to find the deals. Now, imagine you're asleep, fast asleep. We do it every night. When you're asleep, there's nothing going on. You might as well be dead. You wouldn't even know about it. But of course, what this implies is that all your thoughts, all the problems that you see, all the limiting beliefs that you have are all basically in the world of thought. It's all your mind. And what I'd like you to know is that your thinking is that voice in your head. And that's the ego. We kind of name it the ego mind. Thinking is the ego. It's that voice in your head. But remember, you're not your thoughts. Eckhart Tolle said it, and he's quite a spiritual person, as we alluded to earlier. Spirituality, it's you're not your thoughts. You have to understand that your thoughts are just a product of the software in your head. And you can't turn them off when you're awake, generally. You can turn them off when you're asleep because your brain's in a different state. But you can't stop your heart from beating. You can't stop your gut from digesting. It's just what it's programmed and is there to do. But the more we can distance ourselves, the better. You have around 30 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and you don't need to believe them all. So all those negative thoughts, all those limiting beliefs, that's the stuff that I'd like you to start noticing, not paying attention to, but noticing, so that you can replace it and start to reprogram your mind. And one of the ways to do that is to just stop for a bit. You know, a lot of people don't take enough breaks. They're always on the go the whole time. And by rising above your thoughts, you can then just observe them. You can observe your thoughts, you can observe your feelings, and not actually be them. And from that place, that's when you can start to have great insights. So in summary of this bit, spot those negative, self-sabotaging thoughts and choose to change your mind, change those feelings in your body, and then also, effectively as a result of that, change the actions that you're taking in your life. And this observation is the single best thing that you can ever do to learn to tap into your innate intuition. You see, there's an awful lot of knowledge that has, it's this kind of intuitive and even universal consciousness as well. People see that, just a side note here, people see themselves as separate to the world. But of course, you can't have separation without its opposite, which is unity, oneness. Okay, you can't have light without dark. You can't have night without day. You can't have life without death. You can't have freedom without structure or limitation. You can't be a separate individual, which we all think we are, without also a universal consciousness, which is also present, that is oneness. So yeah, sorry, it's a side note there, but I just thought I'd plant that in there because it is an important concept that we are also one, and therefore we can tap into that universal intelligence, which is available to all of us. Now, by observing your thoughts and feelings, you can let go of judgment. You can let go and detach from, you can let go of attachment of outcomes. I think it was Buddha who said it. He said, you know, the human problem that we have in life is that actually we're attached to things and we make judgments of things. And if we let go of attachment and judgment, then life gets an awful lot happier. And actually, as a result, we become more peaceful. And from that place of peace, that's where we can, we neutralize emotions and we get better insights. So what I'm leading to here, guys, is that we need to balance ourselves out a bit more. We're a little bit too unbalanced, and we're always thinking and doing, but actually what we need to do is a little bit more being. So meditation, prayer, mindfulness, going for a walk in the countryside, just connecting with nature, having a nice hot bath and just chilling out, all that relaxation is just as important as taking all the action that you're taking in property. So what I've alluded to is that we have this two sides to our brain. We've got the thinking and the doing. Most people are always action orientated. They're always doing stuff. You know, they're analyzing deals. They're looking at property filter. It's kind of, does it stack? Does it not stack? I've got to learn this. I've got to do that. And that's all left brain thinking. In fact, the voice that's coming out of, the sound that's coming out of my voice is a memory for you. You memorize, you've understood what the sound means. That's a memory. That's part of the thinking that is a memory that means that you understand what I'm saying. Now, the right brain, that's the very different brain that is unbalanced. This is the bit that people don't get enough of in order to really succeed. They're unbalanced. They're too left brain. They're not enough right brain. In the right brain, that's where we have our creativity. That's where we get the best insights, the best ideas, like, oh, this is what I need to do. Oh, this is what I need to speak to that person. Oh, what if I did that? Those insights that pop into our head, that's the right brain. And you only get that when you take time out and use your imagination and tap into those feelings as well, because sometimes feelings are actually guidance. So why knowing what to do and doing it is not enough, because that's all left brain, but we need to balance ourselves out with that right brain side of things too. And this is one of the places that I see property investors get caught the most. They think, okay, I've got to learn this and I've got to do that. And then they think, oh, I need to learn that too. And I need to do that. And I need to learn that. And I need to do that. I need to learn that and do that. And they never actually become someone different to who they believe they are. Now, don't get me wrong. You can absolutely learn stuff, do stuff, and then feel like and become, for example, the CEO of Property Filter or something like that. You can absolutely do it that way. But a lot of people get stuck in who they believe they are. And I would suggest maybe start with, what's the identity that I want to create for myself? And who do I believe I am? Because when you shift your identity, that's when things really start to change. You're most committed to who you think and feel that you are. But when you believe something internally, for example, I believe I'm a non-smoker, and as a result, I don't smoke, right? If you believe that you're limited in terms of how much money you can raise, your brain will justify that to you and will present, and like, if that's something, a belief that you have, then absolutely, it will try and reinforce that thought and that belief. So if you can start by changing your identity and seeing yourself as someone else, as someone, a more advanced version of you, not someone else, but as a more advanced version of you, that's when you start to do things differently. And when you do things differently, you get different outcomes. So this is the order that I encourage you to look at. Be the person you want to be first. Act as if you are the person who raises, millions at a time. Do the things and the behaviors that mean that you get those results. And as a result, you will get those results. So many people I talk to, they say, as soon as I had the money, then I'd be able to do these things. But I've noticed the switch is when they suddenly believe it within themselves already, and then the outside world responds, and actually they get the results because they've changed internally, effectively. So ultimately, what I'd love for you to do is be more you. Be more of who you are here to be on this planet. Because the more authentic you are, and not trying to be someone else or be someone specific, it's kind of just being you and doing the things that come naturally to you and that you're best at. That's when you get the most success. I would love for people to be more authentically them. When they are, that's when people are really attracted to them and go, wow, this person's amazing, because they're so authentic. And I just thought I'd put in this little cartoon because I love it. He said, who wants to change? Everyone's like, yeah, I want change, but I don't want to change. Sorry, I said that wrong. I don't want to change, but I do want to change. If only the government were like this. But they don't want to change themselves. And actually, it's when you change on the inside of who you are, who you're being, that's when you get the shifts on the outside. So I hope this is beginning to make sense. And there's ways of doing this. And here's one. Einstein said, he said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Because you see, knowledge is in the past. It's all stuff you've learned, right? It's all in the past. But imagination is kind of like a vision of the future to come. So, I would imagine Guillaume spends an awful lot of time imagining the next things that he's going to bring in and create in his business. And I encourage you to do the same. Imagine the future that you're creating yourself. And don't just do it once, do it on a regular basis. I've studied so many amazing minds. And all of them say, they take time out and they spend time imagining that future of who they are becoming, or the impact that they're going to have on the world, or the deals that they're going to do. They're imagining the future. And that's why imagination is more important than knowledge. So I'm just going to repeat myself, but just remember to take a little bit more time out and understand that taking that time out to imagine actually is really important to the success of your business. In fact, it's probably just as important as taking the action. There's a few things that we need. We need to have that imagination, that vision of the future to raise finance. We need to have order. We need to have a systemized process that allows it to be scalable, to do it, again and again and again. We can't, grow a business without doing it consistently. We also need to have the right people in place, the right people in place to help us do that, whether it's a mentor, whether it's an accountant, whether it's a broker, whether it's a lawyer, all those other people around us to help things to happen. And the last one is consistency, because it's all very well doing it once, but actually the real power, the foundation of it comes from doing it on a repeated basis. And of course, you are, you know, what you repeatedly do, be, and have on a regular basis. But rather than me talking now, let's just hear from you guys. What are the characteristics or character traits that you need to develop to succeed in life? I'd love to hear from you. What you've heard a few already, and I would, you know, basically, in short, you know, being and seeing yourself as someone different. Raja says persistence. Absolutely, yeah, that consistency or persistency in the face of difficulty. Resilience, very similar, yeah, in a way, is kind of like, yeah, keep going even when you fall over, get back up and keep going again. Lars, a positive outlook. Absolutely. In fact, they talk about, you know, there's IQ, there's also EQ, which is emotional intelligence, but also another one called positive intelligence. And actually, they found that people who have more positive intelligence, there's part of the brain that lights up a bit more, and you're actually more intelligent because you have a positive outlook. You look for solutions, you see the benefits in the difficulties. Can-do attitude, integrity, belief, absolutely. Faith in yourself, exactly. Determination, courage, Karen, I love it. Self-belief, do it again and again and again, absolutely, Tom. Creativity, yes, Gillian. Calmness, absolutely, Diane. You know what? In the face of a storm, being effectively the eye of the storm and being that calmness when everything around you is going wrong, it's just like, nope, everything's fine. Not just because I'm telling myself everything's fine, but actually everything is fine because I am the world, I'm creating it. Because I'm awake, therefore it is me, right? Discipline, focus, vision, team, yeah, absolutely, Anthony. Confidence as well. Yeah, and remember, Donna, I love that. Confidence is a result of having the right courage and being courageous in the face of fear and doing it anyway, and building that capability that then leads to the confidence. Lovely. Excellent, guys. Lovely to see that feedback and learn from each other, because different people will see different things, but we gain so much when we learn from others. Okay. Yeah. And as I mentioned, you are what you repeatedly be, do, think, and feel. A lot of people suppress the feelings and they don't know why they're not succeeding or why they're not happy. Feelings are that right brain. And that's why we need to balance thinking and doing with feeling and being. And being brilliant is not just a one-off, but it's a combination of the right habits, which are things that you've all just mentioned. So that's something I wanted to share with you. And another idea I'd like to share with you is that most people react to the world around them. But look, there's quite similar letters in the world in the word create. In fact, it's a slightly different order. Successful people create the world that they're in. And the difference, apart from the order of the letters, is also an extra E. And that extra E stands for energy. You see, it's your vitality, your energy that you bring to a situation, a project, a deal, a conversation, a presentation. It's that vitality, it's that energy that you bring that really influences the outcome. So remember that. Bring energy to the stuff that you love to do and become, because that's when you're going to make a big, big difference. No one likes to work with, you know, someone who's just like, oh, blah, 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 you know, and just low energy, no enthusiasm, and you know, despondent and not engaged. People love to work with people who have loads of energy and are passionate about what it is that they're doing, and they can really convey that energy through that conversation usually. Another idea I'd like to share with you is that there's a lot of people who live with a victim mentality. You know, life happens to me. You know, I'm affected by everything around me. The next level, which is kind of the personal development level, is that life happens by me. I create my world. But there's a level beyond that personal development level, which I'm just opening the door to for some of you. Some of you will already be well in there already, but life happens through you. Everyone is here on this planet because you've got some gift that you need to discover, but also understand that it's there, and the world is here to help you bring that to the planet. So if you can think of yourself as a co-creator, and the universe actually wants you to succeed, when you see yourself, it's like, it's not just me alone, actually I'm part of this system. That's when, yeah, there's a kind of a bit of a spiritual side of things coming in. But again, if you study really successful people, you'll notice they all have some level of faith in something beyond themselves. And when you believe in that, it really does align with you to help it happen. So now that's another idea that I wanted to share with you. Okay, so here's a summary of some of the stuff that we've covered so far to help with the learning. As I mentioned at the beginning, be ruthless with what you allow into your mind. You know, the people, the news. I mean, literally, I do not know what's going on in the world. I get my news when I listen to a comedy program on Radio 4 or Have I Got News for You? It's like, oh, that's what's going on. And I can laugh about it rather than take it in and get worried and make me feel scared and all those other things. Remember that you're not your thoughts. Your thoughts are just the output of your brain. You don't need to believe them, particularly if they're negative. Observe your thoughts and feelings and don't be them. But spend time, as I say, disengaging from doing. And in that time, whether you're having a hot bath or going for a walk or just taking some time out with your partner or meditating or praying or just being mindful, sitting quietly, fishing by a stream, whatever it might be, where you can just zone out and just be, that's when you get the best insights. That's when you can kind of look back and go, oh, that's what I should have done differently. That's my insight from today. That's my takeaway from today. That's a great lesson here. Those are the insights that are going to transform your life. So do more of that. And yeah, if you're bored and if meditation is not for you, because it is a kind of a way of stopping thinking, which is quite difficult and takes practice to get to. But if you like active meditation, then you can just use your imagination and visualize the future of what it is to come. Because any thought that you hold in mind on a regular basis comes about. Look at everything in front of you right here, right now, was a thought in someone's head first. So if we hold a thought in mind on a regular basis, it is, in due course, will become a reality. And here's a formula for happiness, because everyone benefits from being happy. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do, right? You're trying to make more money, to become more freedom, to have more happiness. Actually, what if we just started with what is happiness? Happiness is equal to or greater than your perception of the events of life, less or minus your expectations of how life should be. Oh, this estate agent should have got back to me. Oh, this should have, if you take away your expectations and you just allow life to unfold, but you set intention, absolutely, you've got to set intention, but not be attached to how it happens. That's when life gets easier, and suddenly it's like, oh, I've raised the finance. Oh, they've said yes to the deal. Oh, that's amazing. Suddenly things start to happen because you're not attached to the outcome, and you're letting go of that judgment of how things should be. So if you want to find out more about that particular formula, it comes from the book Solve for Happy by a chap called Mo Gaudat. And Mo was the chief CEO at Google, and he's an incredibly smart guy. He's got an amazing story. So it's a great book, Solve for Happy. That's where that formula comes from. Okay, just a little side note. If you want to hear more about what you've just heard today, and by the way, I haven't finished, so we haven't got into the raising finance bit. But if you'd like to know more about me and property strategy, then we've got a podcast. It was a top 3 in the charts on all the different podcast platforms. So feel free to find that at property-strategy.com/podcast. There's, in fact, the last episode 37, was about raising finance, which is what we're going to go into now. Okay, so we're going to apply the stuff we've learned about mindset just now into raising finance. So let's get on with that. Okay, the mindset of raising finance. Here's a question we get a lot, or rather a limitation that we get a lot. Why is it that you're not putting yourself out there to, in your network, to let them know that you're a property investor and that you're looking to raise finance? Why is it that we hold ourselves back and don't do that? So maybe here's one of the real reasons why you might be struggling to raise finance. The conversation is going on in your head. It's like, oh, I've got to put myself out there to raise finance. Why is it that you're not doing that? Maybe it's because, oh, I need to have an investor pack first, because if I got an investor pack sorted, then that'll make all the difference. Oh, really? Why is that then? Well, so if they ask me about the property investing, I can show something that proves that I am for real, like I'm a property investor and I've got an investor pack. Okay, why is that important? well, I want to become, look professional. And what's the problem then if you don't look professional, or if you look unprofessional even? Well, but then they won't take me seriously. Okay, so why is that a problem? Because then they won't invest in me. Then why is that a problem? Because I won't be able to raise the finance, and then I won't be able to buy property. Okay, and why is that a problem? Because then I'll have failed. When you ask why 7 times to whatever problem you think you have, you usually get to the real crux of it. So what we've done is we've gone from, I'm not putting myself out there because I think I need an investor pack first, to actually, I'm just really scared of failing. That's ultimately why people are holding themselves back from not telling the world about what they're doing, or they're not taking action in some way, whether it's an investor pack or something else. Your conscious mind is telling you it's because I haven't got an investor pack, or I'm afraid of being, seen as, I don't know, I'm afraid my employer might see what I'm doing, and that doesn't help. The subconscious mind is the bit that is scared of failing. And that bit is way, way bigger than the conscious thought of what it is you're doing or not doing. So this links to the left brain, right brain. You're consciously thinking, I need an investor pack, but the real reality of, and the subconscious of why you think you need an investor pack is actually because you're scared of failing. So what it comes back to, guys, is this: people they're always learning and doing and learning and doing, but they're never actually really relating to the proper problem, which is they don't see themselves as someone who's worthy, as someone who is courageous enough to do it. They're not being that courageous person. That's why I believe starting with being your identity of who you are and seeing yourself as someone who's really successful, if you start there, then everything shifts. You might be thinking, you need investment to be able to buy property, but I'm scared of failing. And here's the thing: you're doing the one thing that you need. You're not doing the one thing you need in order to buy property, and that's a bit of a catch-22 situation. You're not either putting yourself out there, or you're not you're not raising that finance in order to buy property. But then if you don't buy property, you're not going to be successful. It's like it's a catch-22 situation. It's going round. You're scared of failing, but you're not doing what you need to do in order to succeed. So that's why we have to address the feeling, or who you're being, that allows us to succeed. But you might be thinking, but yeah, but I really do need an investor pack to be able to raise this finance. It's like, no, that is not true. We have raised millions and seen other people raise millions without an investor pack. So it's just a limiting belief. And that's why it comes back to, you are what you think about on a regular basis. And that's why we have to train our brain and put the right software into our head in order to get different outputs. But what if someone does ask for an investor pack? Well, you just make it. It's not the end of the world, right? But ideally you get to the point where they are asking for it. But don't feel that just because you haven't got it, you can't have conversations, okay? And that's just one example. But then there's another fear beyond that. And the next fear for a lot of people is not being perfect, or not the investor pack isn't good enough. And same with being professional. I mean, what does that even mean anyway? Can you relate to any of these? Maybe you're struggling to make decisions. Maybe you're procrastinating about certain aspects of your property deals or other things. Maybe you're questioning if you put in an offer on something, but actually, is that the right offer? And is it as low as you could have got it? Maybe you feel that you haven't got enough information. Or maybe you're over-analyzing, or you're stressed out, you're worrying about the future, overwhelm, anxiety, which is basically worry about the future. And frankly, you're just not taking any action. If you can relate to any of that, what it comes down to is that potentially you're scared or worried about all sorts of things, whether it's making the wrong decision, messing things up, being out of control, what others are going to be thinking about you, not being good enough, not having enough information and other things, maybe being criticized by other people. Ultimately, it all comes back to what I mentioned at the beginning, is fear. That part of the brain that for most of us is a little bit overdeveloped, that part of the software that's like too good at what it does. And that's the fear of which holds us back. And I'd love to hear from you in the chat box. What are your favorite acronyms of fear? I know Simon Zucci talks about false evidence appearing real. If you've heard any others, I'd love to hear from them, because I hear there's quite a few now. I heard another one the other day, which was feel everything and relax. I thought, oh, that's a good one. I like that. So feel the fear, and that's something I teach that helps people when you address and just sit with the feeling. Because basically, guys, all fear, and feel free to write this down because it's such a great insight, all fear is a fear of a feeling. I love that. What's this? Frozen energy action required. I love it, Anthony. That's a good one. I haven't heard that one before, but it's good to hear the different ones. Another one, face everything and rise. I think another one, or something. Yeah, there we go. Face everything and rise. Thank you, Tim. Perfect timing. Excellent. And there was another one that was fear everything and run, or face everything and then run the other way, or something like that. Anyway, it's just fun. Thank you, Rajesh. Great. So here's another insight, is that different levels of fear will determine how far that you can go in property. So we've always got to address that underlying fear. There was one chap we worked with, he already had 10 properties, but he wanted to grow his business, and the business partner he'd done it with to date, who did all the viewings and all the offers, he'd gone by the wayside, and they needed to effectively part company. But he wasn't taking any action. One, because he'd never done the offers and viewings and other stuff like that. But also because he was employed before and now he isn't, he was just in property. He didn't have any additional funds to put into property. So he wasn't taking action on either viewings or offers or raising finance. But when we spent time with him and addressed the real underlying root cause, fear of it, he's now got an investor with over £2 million, and he's bought 4 properties in the last 2 months. And that was just that little tweak of addressing and understanding and letting go of the underlying fear that allowed him to suddenly skyrocket, really, in terms of his success. For us, just as another example, for Jackie, Dave and I, it was about perfectionism. You know, we didn't have the perfect deal pack. We didn't have everything looking exactly the way it needs to in order to have the conversations. But we overcome that, and things have gone incredibly well. For other clients that we work with, and some of them are much bigger than us now, they raise like £5 million at a time. They're doing units of 50, apartments at a time. And for them, it wasn't raising, like, literally they were funded by multi-millionaires, if not billionaires. And their biggest fear was actually control, controlling the 5, 6, 7 projects that they had on at any one time, and the fear of letting go of that control. They didn't want to take on staff. They were like, no, we'll just keep it with us, because that way we can control it. So you see, at different levels in your business, you'll always come up against barriers, and those barriers are fear, and those barriers can be overcome when you understand that fear is basically a block and that's holding you back. So overcoming fear to be able to take you in the right direction consists in basically of a formula that we put together. One is awareness. Once you're aware of it, as I mentioned before, like meditation, prayer, mindfulness, going for a walk, sitting in the bath, contemplating, taking a time out with a cup of tea, awareness. And then from there, you can start to overcome it, because you can spot it and see it from a different angle. And then from there, there's the becoming of, actually, I need to be this person now in order to overcome it. And then the cycle tends to go around again, and you're just up at a higher level. So this is kind of the process that we address things in. And we've got a ready-made strategy and formula, and this is what it looks like. We've got to attract investors, got to stop thinking and start doing, and just being that person. And you've got to line up funds, all of these things at the same time. And that way you can raise finance and do more deals. And that's when things get an awful lot easier, and you can do it with more confidence and ease. So this is the formula. You work on yourself first, you attract the potential investors, that gets into a pipeline. And from that pipeline, you follow up and you qualify these investors. From the investors, you have initial contact, and then you have an ISC, which is initial strategy consultation. Then that conversation leads to FCA documents, and you need to have Financial Conduct Authority awareness to understand the process of what they're looking for so that you follow their guidelines and you don't do anything illegal. You've got to have structure in terms of understanding how to structure a joint venture, or whether it's a debt, loans and stuff like that. Then you get to heads of terms. Then you can present your deal pack on the particular deal that joint venture might be associated with. And then you have a contract that you sign, and then you've got a systemized, scalable process that allows you to raise finance. So that's our way of doing it, and I'm very happy to send you these slides so that you can read over them again. But if you'd like to know more about the Raising Finance Formula, it's a workshop that we do, and there's one next week, just head to our website or send us an email at hi@propertystrategy.com, and then that way we can send you these slides, and we can tell you more about the workshop if that's of interest to you. But by all means, you can get a lot of the information already from these slides. So that's just something that's of interest, if that is of interest. As I mentioned, yeah, the podcast, that could be good if you enjoyed this mindset talk. We're all about that, and that's what we talk about on Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast. So do check out the podcast there, propertystrategy.com /podcast. So there we go. I hope that was useful. I hope I didn't go over time or under time. A little bit over time.
No, it's awesome, Dominic. Thank you so much. I'm well into this kind of stuff. I'm as I grow, I become more and more into these things, and it gets woo-wooer and woo-wooer. But I like you keep things quite practical, and with the outcome, and the formula of raising finance, the formula of getting the mindset of finding deals. And I know you and Jackie and the team at Property Strategy, you work lots of different frameworks like this, and it makes things very predictable. Do you want to pop in the chat the link to the
yeah, absolutely.
was it the podcast, and I know you've got some other things where you invite people to go in and do much more of a deeper dive into some of these aspects, and specifically around finding deals, and then people can find and have a look if it's. I would encourage.
It's the way the brain works is that we need to have structure to understand it, and that's why everything that we discover, it's like, well, how do we turn this into a formula that people can understand and use and do, so that they can apply it to their lives? Because it's all very well one person knowing about it, but in order to share it, we have to have a process that people can understand and repeat. So yeah, that's why we always love to have processes and systems for things to work.
Definitely, this works really well for me too. So I'd encourage you to reach out to Dominic if you want a copy of the slides. Yeah, it's just. Did you mean podcast with an A, Dominic? Sorry about that.
Oh, did I wrote it wrong? Oh, sorry. Oh yes, I need an A in there. Sorry. So my spelling is not my strong suit.
No worries. So I'm going to go up the chat, and then if you guys have any questions, you should pop them in the chat, and then we got sort of 15-20 minutes with Dominic, and he's a wealth of experience, so be awesome to pick his brain on a few things. Actually, I've got one question on because I follow. You said don't fill your life with negativity, the news and things like that. And although I don't, I've not had TV for 15 years, and I never really watch the news and stuff. I find it really hard, because you've got a consciousness and you feel empathy for certain things that are happening in the world, and sometimes there's this guilt of my selfish way of dealing with it is ignoring it, and it's like, okay, there's horrible things happening in I used to live in Russia for a while. I have Russian and Ukrainian friends, and it was quite something. I have Palestinian friends, and it's all these things, So how do you deal with in this kind of consciously filling your life with positivity? How do you deal with in a way ignoring the news without feeling guilty and then it's kind of your consciousness, like how do you balance these things?
Yeah, that's a great question, Guillaume, because it is true. We kind of almost have a sense of guilt if we're not maybe paying attention to it. I know my mother-in-law, she's like, what do you mean you don't listen to news? You should know what's going on in the world. And I'm like, I can't control any of it. And this is the thing that causes a lot of anxiety in people, is that they're worrying about stuff they can't do anything about. Now, it might be different if you're a politician and you want to look at the macro level of, I want to impact society, and you know, be of service to society by being a member of parliament or on your local council or whatever it might be, those people will absolutely be paying attention to the news, and you know, good for them. But for you and I, the best way to live our lives is to have a positive impact on the people around us, do the best work we can, and let go of the stuff that we can't control, and only focus on the stuff that we can control and that we possibly can influence. So there's 3 levels. There's what you can control, what you can influence, and then there's like a big step, and then it's like what you cannot control and therefore cannot influence. And just ignore that, because it's not going to help you. You know, worrying about it is not helping you or anyone else. So do what you can for you and for your circle of influence, and be the best version of you for that. And then actually you impact everyone else as a result. You see, peace in the world, sorry, it's getting philosophical, but if you want peace in the world, it starts with you.
Yeah, I agree.
You're going to impact the people around you. So that's the best way to impact on a macro global scale, is to be peaceful.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that. So let me have a look at the questions. So there's lots of really great feedback. I think people are quite you know, thankful. Excellent talk. You know, there's I can't read all the comments, but like people really enjoyed today. So thanks a lot, Dominic.
Pleasure.
Rajesh had a question. How does someone deal with?
Willem, sorry. Hi, Willem.
Yeah, go on.
Dominic, this seems to happen to me, and maybe I'm in a, I don't know, subconscious loop, is whenever I sit down and write my goals down, you get sort of like, you have obstacles and setbacks. How do you keep going? Because obviously if you write a goal, there's going to be obstacles and setbacks. We understand that. And how do you keep going, focus on the end goal? And the other question I have, sorry, is that I can see the goal in the distance, but I have trouble breaking it down, a daily thing. So, and I really liked your about the because I'm into the subconscious mind as well. I saw that iceberg that you showed and everything. No, it was really insightful. I learned some stuff, but I just wanted to go back to how do you deal with disappointment, setbacks, and not so much failure, because failure is only feedback. But when you're approaching something in the universe, or your subconscious mind says, well, are you really serious? You know, and it's like, say if you want to save money, you start getting all these credit card things in the bills and all of that, and I don't know if that's because the subconscious mind is testing you. So I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Thank you, Rajesh. So kind of two or maybe even 3 questions there, but okay, so how do you deal with setbacks? One is, stop, get away from it, away from the thinking, and observe, and know that, and kind of a way of thinking about it is that you go, okay, what is this trying to teach me? So rather than seeing it as a setback or something that negative that's happened, you say it's like, okay, what is the lesson that I need to get? I think it was, again, Buddha said it, see everyone else as enlightened except for you. You're the only one that's not, and everything is there to teach you a lesson. And the more you look at it in that way, you go, okay, and then you can start seeing the benefits in the setbacks. You go, oh, I didn't quite get this bit right, or actually, you know what, that deal wasn't meant to happen because actually I possibly would have lost money. And rather than pushing through and forcing it through, no matter what, actually, maybe that was guidance that shouldn't have happened in the first place. And that was kind of the universe trying to help you. So that's one way to look at it, is to go, actually, it's there to help me, and it's not there to hinder me. So that would be the first one. And remind me the second one, Rajesh, then was this the second question?
So I forgot what the second question was. So yes, this is it. So when you're setting a goal, it could be, I don't know, 3 months in the future, 6 months, 12 months. I'm not at the 10-year one. I know they say do 10-year goals, but I just think that's just too far ahead. Maybe say 3 to 5 years. I know Jackie and Dave very well. I did one of their one-day courses. Anyway, that's another story for another time. So how do you break it down? Because I can see the goal in the distance, right? I can see it, literally see it. About maybe whether it's raising finance or sourcing deals for investors. But how do you break it down, say monthly, weekly, daily, hourly? How do you do that? What are the tasks that I need to do? Because sometimes I get very distracted. So I'm very restless. And I took back what you were saying about I need to reflect on that. But how do you break the goals down to make it easy?
Well, here's the thing. In order to achieve stuff and to make decisions, we need to know why we want it. And that reason's really got to be there. That's the driving force behind it, the why. Then you've got to know what you're aiming for. As you mentioned, you've got to know what it is. Then it's about who's doing what in order to move you closer to that goal. Now, it might be that you're doing everything, but I'm sure there are other people that you could involve that will help you get you there. Then it's at what's the consistency, like the when. And as you say, the when is, yeah, we have annual goals. We break them down into quarterly rocks, as we call them. Then we break them down into monthly actions and key performance indicators. And then we break them down into weekly. These are my top 3 things that I'm doing today or this week that's going to move my business forward. So as you say, just like you mentioned, you set the 3 to 5 year vision, you go to annually, you go to quarterly, you go to monthly, you go to weekly. And that's the way you kind of break it down. And that's just practice of, oh, okay, I need to do this thing this week that's going to move me forward to getting that project of that quarterly goal, so, achieved. So just break it down. That's the when. And then lastly, the how. Frankly, the how is what you do every single day. It's the stuff that you're doing that's actually moving you closer to it. So I don't worry unduly about the how. Just keep.
It's more about the why, isn't it? It's more about the why.
It is about the why.
Okay.
When the why is strong enough, the how will take over itself, as the famous quote goes. So
that's great.
It's what you said about being, you want to be.
Yeah.
What person do you need to be? It's not about learning and doing. It's you touch on this with saying like what person you need to become. And it's about the being and that person who achieves these goals. What is it that they are doing because they are, or the person they are being. So
yeah,
that's great. Thank you, Dominic, and good.
Thank you, Rajesh. I've got some other questions.
Yes.
Okay,
yes, it's so it's nice talking about. I got some comment around the debt. So for someone maybe thinking about debt and interest charge, how do you get out of this when you know that consciously you need to focus on creation? So I don't know how complex this question is, Dom.
So does the person who asked it, could they just unmute and maybe ask it so and get some bit more context around it, just to give bring it alive with the story?
Yeah, if that's okay. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, thank you for trying to explain. I didn't make it really clear. So I got out of debt about 8 months ago, or got it really, really low, down to 1 digit. And then I took up property training, and I bought it on credit cards, and then I stopped being able to get 0% transfers. So I got like 6 lots of interest. It was all on the end of credit cards. So I've just got interest, which I'm not used to, every month. And so it's really hard not to think about debt all the time. And it's really sickening to be paying it in interest all the time. And I try and look at it like that helped me get a course, which helped me get a serviced accommodation, and that's bringing me in money every month, which is much more than the interest. But it's still, I can't stay in that positive mindset all the time. It does my head in, like seeing all the interest coming out from overdrafts and credit cards.
Absolutely. I can really empathize with you there. I know how it feels of being there in the past. It's so you're absolutely right. I mean, basically the environment around us means that we are constantly bombarded with effectively the worry and fear of the debt that's creeping. Here's the thing, that there are certain things that we have to do in order to get out of debt, to get to that. Roger Hamilton talks about it in terms of infrared, red. Infrared is when you're in survival or less than survival mode. And yeah, what you need to do basically, sorry, I couldn't see your name, but serve one person really well, someone who's already making money that you can serve and get paid and pay off that debt, because you need to have that self-worth of being paid and getting out of that minus category and into the positive. And once you're into the positive, then it's about scaling that service that you're providing to other people. And then that allows you to then go up the ladder. You see, very rarely, in fact, never have I ever seen someone go from minus scores to multi-millions, a successful business, without going through the steps that to get there. Or if they do, maybe they win the lottery, but they go back down to the minus scores because they're not used to that level of wealth and they haven't really created it themselves per se. So for you to get out of debt, serve one person, whether it's an employer, part-time job, something that allows you to get out and pay off that debt so that you can get above the waterline and start actually feeling like you're worthy and that you're that money is positive cash flow rather than negative cash flow, which it is at the moment. So service to others and doing your duty, doing the things that you have to do in order to get out of that sort of negative spiral that you're in at the moment. And then from there you can go up from there, but I won't go into too much more detail on that one.
I've just popped in the chat a link to a Roger Hamilton book, so Millionaire Master Plan. So basically, if you're into wealth dynamics and it's understanding your flow, where is it that you excel at naturally, and it will also talk about these levels. So it's like infrared, red, and you go up, and there's a blueprint basically. So what is it you want to focus on, and at every step, and based also on your natural flow, so your personal profile basically. And so I hope the link works, but it's a really good one. So you don't need to read it cover to cover. You just go to, it's a manual, so you go to the level you are and your profile, and then it will tell you basically what you need to do in the next 90 days. So it's yeah, I think it's really good, and thanks a lot for for sharing. And I'm glad you managed to get access to Dominic, and we're able to help you with that. And yeah, Anthony, sorry. And Anthony shared the book from Mo Goddard, which is really awesome. I think Solve for RP is the one with the equation, so it speaks to my engineer mind as well. It's very simple, very simple equation.
It's a very logical book, but it's also got empathy as well, because he wrote it. He started writing it 17 days after he lost his 21-year-old son to a preventable human error. So in the worst position ever, and awful feeling, to actually go, you know what, how do I be happy from this, and how do I create a legacy for him? And that became his driving force to empower 1 billion people to make them happy. So yeah, amazing story, and a really very good book. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. So can't really see another question, something specific. So yeah, thank you so much, Dominic. Thank you everyone for being here. So I'd really like to invite you to reach out to Dominic. Do you have like an email or something people can ask for a copy of the slides or
sure?
Something
so it's
like that?
hi@property-strategy.com.
That's right.
I'll pop that in the link as well. Yeah, if you just email us and let us know your email and name, then we'll send you the slides as well.
Yeah, if you want, copy paste that email address or download the chat if you want, and then pick up the few links. So email Dominic to get a copy of the slides, have a look at the podcast, and I think there was a link with some sort of further deep dive learning in this space. I encourage you to have a look. It's all very good stuff. And then you might have seen, so if you go, so this recording will be tomorrow on your Property Filter Success Base in your library of video, and you'll find Jackie Toms did another session a few months ago last summer. I can't remember which episode it was, but so if you like what Dominic talked about, you love what Jackie is doing with a property strategy as well. So have a look at these things too in your Property Filter workspace, and in there is basically you'll find Jackie as well. Any sort of closing thoughts, closing sentiment, Dominic, you want to leave us with? Leave us to ponder on.
So all I say is, remember that if you've learned one thing today, please apply it to your life, because otherwise it's just a nice talk. So if you apply it to your life, then actually that's when change has really started and can actually carry on from there. So apply it to your life on a regular basis, recommit to that application of whatever it is you want to apply it to your life, then change will happen. But otherwise it's just a nice talk. So yeah, you're in control, you're the powerful one. So make it happen for you.
Thanks so much, Dominic. Really appreciate it. And if you like this, so it's a bit of a different topic. So I'm really passionate about these things, mindset, personal growth, and things like that. And that's really what I enjoy the most, really. So if you like this kind of stuff, do let us know in the Property Filter chat. If you want more, speakers like we had on Dominic. I know, I like to like the tactical stuff around finding deals, the tactical things around negotiation and things like that. But I really have a passion for this more soft skills and mindset and how do you call it, manifestation and things like that. So if you like these kind of things, do let me know in the chat in Property Filter, and then we can get more of my friends, like Dominic to talk about this kind of stuff. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us today on the Deal Finder Corner. Reach out to Dominic to get a copy of the slides, have a look at the podcast. In the meantime, visit propertyfilter.co.uk, log on to your Property Filter account, check out the deal blueprint, where you can define your gold mine area, engage with motivated sellers, assess properties in seconds, load your pipeline, and make deals. Have an endless supply of deals. Join the top 1% and become a high achiever deal finder. I hope you enjoyed today's Deal Finder Corner, and I look forward
Thank you,
to seeing
Graham
you
and
next week.
Dominic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you,
everyone.
everybody.
A real pleasure to be here. Take care.